Lord, our Heavenly Father, we praise you, we worship you this beautiful morning, Father God. Thank you so much for giving us a restful night and for all the days that you've been with us and taken care of us, Lord. Thank you for bringing us together here yet another day, yet another time to praise you, to worship you, and to learn something new, Father. We just commit this time into your hands, Lord, and we thank you for the protection that you gave for each one of us here, Lord, while many have been suffering and going through various difficulties, Father. We especially remember nations who are struggling hard now with even to have that protection, Father. So we give them all into your hands. Let your comfort and peace cover them completely, Father God. We give this time to you. We pray and ask that you will be with us and help us to grow in you, Father. We ask all this in your mighty and precious name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, guys. So today we have a very simple painting, which is using only very less of colors here, not too much of colors. This is done by AhmadArt, and he has beautiful tutorials in YouTube, which you would be able to kind of see, as well as like there is so much of what do you say? He uses very simple language as well as simple strokes and stuff, which is easy to learn. So I would suggest that when you have time, you can go into YouTube and learn from him as well. It's very easy. You would really enjoy doing it. So I've just taken a very simple painting from his tutorials, which uses less colors. And so this is with sunlight and rays, which shows so beautiful how nature is, awesome in its own creativity there. So that's what we will be doing today. And for that, I would like you to have, so we are using an 8x10 panel. I'm using it vertically here. For this, I'll be using the colors. If you have yellow deep, or if you have Naples yellow, or any kind of yellow, we can mix with white and bring it into the lighter shade of sun's rays. So I'm using white, and my small tube of white is almost done. So I'm using white, and I'm using yellow for that first layer of that sun's rays that's gonna come in. So whichever yellow that you have, make sure you mix it with white, and we're going to make sure that it's going to come as a sun's rays here. And then the colors that's going to come in more would be the mixture of where did I leave my other color? Okay. So the mixture of burnt yellow, burnt umber, vermilion, and yellow, along with white. Okay, so now this brown is little darker tinted brown. So if you have this brown, it's nice. And then vermilion, it's more of a darker orange hue. So, this would give that brownish shade that is seen in the picture itself. We may not be getting the exact shade, but we will kind of, come into that that kind of, the shade that has been shown in the picture itself, at least closer to it. Okay, so we'll be using that. And for that, we need more of white and this combination of colors here. Okay, and then to make it more darker, we would be using burnt sienna. Okay, so shades of brown. If you don't have the brown, like we have only one brown, we can make it light and dark with white or with black. Okay, no issues at all. So use that, because that's the, what do you say, that morning kind of a sun's rays that's coming in, along with within that forest and stuff. That's what we're trying to bring in here. Okay, so those are your paints. Not very much of paints that we are going to use, and then a tint of black as well. So you have black here. Okay, so these are the colors that we would be using, which is your burnt umber, your vermilion, black, deep yellow, as well as white. Okay, so those are your colors. The next one is your brushes. Now, for this kind of a sans rays painting, or anything which involves reflections, waters, huge mountains, I would always suggest you to have a bigger flat brushes with a brush with this kind of a hot bristle. Because why? This has that beautiful texture of, bringing that roughness into that rays or mountains or like water reflections that you can bring in. So you can use either this kind of a brush, or sometimes you also get a bigger brush like this. So I tend to use this for my bigger canvas. For this one, this size is good enough for me. So I'm using this one. And along with that, we have trees and leaves that's come by. So fan brushes are really good. So either you could use this kind of a fan brush, which is like thin and like there's not much of bristles here. You can also use this one, which is really kind of, it helps you to show that shades of leaves and trees. So you're not going to use the entire brush. When you're using a fan brush, always remember your paints are coming only onto only onto the tips of the brushes, right? And it's just a feather touch here and there, like you're going to give, and it's going to come beautifully with that kind of touch itself. So you don't have to have so much of paints, and especially when you're doing a nature landscape painting, always be less on paints. And with acrylic, what happens is like first is your light layer, and then you go your dark layer, or you come from the dark layer to the light layer. But still, it's not with too much of paints. It's very, very less of paints. So always try to use with feather light touches everywhere, as well as not to kind of put lots of pressure on your brush or with your hand onto the panel, because that's not what we need for now. Okay, that's simple things that I would like to explain it again and again every time. And then the brushes that we can use is you can use either this kind of oval brush, or the this is easily available when you're going to Dollarama or any of the stores. You have a whole ton of brushes which comes like this. Also, you can use this for your trees, or even to go do the ground layer with this brush. You can use it. You can use a round brush if you want to, or you could use a filbert brush too. Okay, so these kind of brushes will really help to bring in that ground as well as the trees, the branches and everything that you want to do. And if you can have a thinner brushes, it would be nice, because we would be needing it to draw that small branches and the thicker trees and stuff. So those thin brushes are really good. And I just want to check that I taken one more, because my brush was very thin. Okay, so those are the brushes here for today's painting. Container of water. I always have two containers of water. One is for washing the brushes. Another one is to use for painting itself. So you can use two containers of water if you can. And then instead of using a foam plate, I'm using a ceramic plate as my palette, because this is washable. I'm not using in my dinner sets, or I'm not using in my food table there. So I use it more environment friendly instead of using all the foam plates. So this is what I'm using it here today. Okay, and always make sure that you have a washcloth and a napkin. Paper napkin is good to dry out your brushes and to make sure that you keep your brushes clean. So with that, we shall begin our painting today. So now what I want you to do is take your yellow along with some white. I'm gonna show you how much I'm mixing it with in my palette here, because this whole, at least the entire part of this side is going to get covered with the white and the yellow. So I want you to make sure that you have that much paint mixed up. Otherwise, it's like every time you're going to keep mixing it up. Okay. So I'm using my thicker flat brush itself, the big, not the big, the one which for my size, for the panel size here. Okay. So here is the paint. And when you mix it with yellow, you're going to get a very lighter shade of, and if you don't get it, don't worry, we're going to mix more of white. Okay. And I want you to make sure your stroke is coming like this, from up to down. And if it's going to be dark, all you're going to do is make sure you're going to pull it down. Okay. Make sure you pull your strokes down. So get a practice of doing it with this particular painting, so that you know what, when kind of doing all the other what do you say, other landscapes, you get the feel of it. I'm just using a white, and I'm trying to get this paint more lighter. And don't worry if it is dark, because when you're seeing in my picture view, it's going to be dark for you. It's not that dark in my, when you see it in a plain eye. Sometimes with all these, what do you say, with all the colors and shades and lights and everything, it may look very dark, but for me, when I see it, it's fine for me. So all I'm trying to do is just mix up that yellow with your white and bring the brushes, bring the brush stroke up to down, bring it from up to down, get a practice of that, so that what happens, you can actually show that race. Okay, now when that has been there, I want you to take, when the brush is like, when it is coming down itself and the paint is still on that wet side, I want you to take more of white and go like this. So when you do like this, you actually kind of getting that stroked white, the sun's rays coming in. Okay, so go maximum up to down. So you bring that color nicely and get that stroke well. You may not be able to see it, but start doing it as a practice, because when you are in that, what do you say, in that position, when the color comes by, you will feel that, yes. Okay, and make sure that you have, as I said, this is more of the sun's rays, the more of white being used. So please, okay, the strokes should be coming from up to down, and it should show that the sun's rays is falling up, or falling from up, and it's coming down. So see, it's now lighter in shade, but it has that mix of the strokes that's coming up and down, and you would be able to see it very, very clearly. Make sure that your strokes are from up and down, guys. It's not just like random strokes that's coming out. And to make it more visibly differentiated, make sure your white goes in beautiful inside out, so that you can feel that rays is coming from up to down. And you are using lots of white in this paint, because it's not a darker shade, it's a very, very lighter shade of stuff. And it's like, how something is falling from up, just that's what you're going to do. Okay, and when the paint is still on the same verge of it's not a dried, so I'm going to mix up like little bit of white more into that palette of yellow that I have here, and I'm going to use a little bit of vermilion. I'll show you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Which
Yes,
color
yes.
did you use? I didn't understand it.
It's yellow, dear. I use yellow and white.
Ma'am, excuse
I
me.
used, I used yellow and white.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome, dear. So, and then I'm going to use vermilion, I'm going to use burnt umber, and I'm going to use white with yellow. I'll show you what I'm trying to get here. It may be a little dark, but I will mix and show you. Okay. If it is dark, we're going to mix up more of white. Okay. So I have burnt, sorry, which one was that? I have the burnt umber. Yeah, burnt umber, vermilion, and yellow. So keep the dark shade there, because we need the dark shade, but I want you to get this kind of a shade here.
Excuse me.
Okay. Is somebody asking me anything?
Yeah. How do you make the burnt amber color again?
Which, if you have a brown, it's a darker brown here. So if your brown is very light, make sure that this is the brown that normally you should be having. If you don't have this kind of a brown, then make the brown with darker with little bit of black, and then use that along with the vermilion. It's a darker shade of orange,
Okay.
and
Thank
with
you.
yellow and white. Okay, and so now I'm gonna take some little bit of water. I'm gonna make it more lighter for me because that's the color that I need to give my rays coming down. So I'm gonna make sure it is very light in color. If I'm gonna put it here, see, this is the brown that has to come in, and the rays are coming in like this. Okay, so make sure your brush stroke is coming from up to down, up from top to bottom, and it is blending in along with your paint. What is there? This is what I want you to bring in. So when you see the sun's rays is actually coming in, out, and you should be able to feel that color which is coming up. You should be able to get it. And it's a very, very light color, no darker shade of colors here. And all I'm trying to do is blend it into my painting. Blend it in. So if you see the strokes is going from up to down and from up to down, and my brush is just bringing that whole rays down. So that's what you want to bring in. And I'm just going to make sure that the part down is little bit more darker. And your stroke again is only from top to bottom. So this way, what happens, we can actually feel that the forest is like in between. You can see the sun's rays that's going to fall down.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Your camera's off.
Oh, thanks, dear.
Thank you.
No problems. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so here goes. So make sure your brush strokes are coming from up to down and you're bringing it towards the floor. So the point of bringing the sun's rays is to make sure it's coming from up to down and you have that beautiful rays that you can see. Okay, sorry, this is what you have to be getting it. Okay, don't forget that, because as you're mixing in colors, yes, it's gonna get more darker and darker. And I'm gonna use a little bit more of paint here. The same browns that I made it out, I'm just gonna make sure. And again, the stroke is the same stroke. I have not changed my stroke. It's coming from top to bottom. On my bottom layer, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it a little bit more darker here. And I'm gonna make sure my floor is dark. So if you see, this is the color that we need to have. Okay, and if you want to bring it up, you can bring the stroke up. It's fine as long as your strokes is only on the sides, up and down. So when you see your painting, you should be feeling like the sun's rays is coming. Don't have any white spots. When you're pulling the paint up, you may feel that it's not coming out well, but don't worry. There are trees and there are things that's going to happen now. Okay, make sure. And this painting will get in faster because it's going to be on the wet on wet. The surface is going to be wet here, and you're going to do it with, the paints faster. Okay, and make sure that you have that color beautifully coming out. And if you need to make it more, please make it more. Because for me, I'm I'm done with my color here, so I'm just mixing it more. White, yellow, vermilion, and burnt umber. And your ground is going to be a little bit more darker. Okay. The painting is light in color, guys. It's not dark. It's very light in color. So make sure that you have that coming up and it's not too dark. And if you find that it is very dark, make sure you have white to lighten the color. Okay, so that's very important. And in between, stroke it up so that it's more darker. Okay, and if you feel that there is lots of brown there or red, or if you see the orange tint more coming in, you can always mix it with a little bit of white to bring the color down. I'm just showing you different techniques here so that you can understand how the colors can be different and change too. I'm just gonna wash my brush. And this is just with the yellow, burnt umber, orange, or like not the orange, the vermilion and white. I have not used anything else here. See, I've just wet my brush nicely. I
Excuse
dried
me,
it.
ma'am.
Yes,
I, I don't have vermilion with me. Can I use some color else?
orange. Do you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
orange?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please use orange, dear. You would be able to get the colors. And if people are watching along with me when I'm doing it, it's just to lighten the shades of the sun's rays that's coming inside. All I've done is just to make sure that I've added a little bit of yellow uh, and the white there. And it brings the tone down. So this is how you lighten also, and you can darken the tones. Okay, I just wanted to just show you that, and we can continue with our painting just to show. And then down it's a little bit more darker because of the floor. So you can either do with your brush like this and make sure that the brown is going to be nice tinted dark, because the floor will be dark with all the fallen leaves. And that's the one that I'm trying to do here. And I'm just using very, very light strokes with my brush, no heavier strokes here. Okay, very, very light strokes, making sure that the paint and the brushes are just dancing around, very, very fragile. So if you see, all I'm doing is with the same brush, I'm making sure that the floor looks very very nice, and making it darker as well. And as the first layer is gone, then put your second layer of darkness. Okay. Again with the same brush. I'm not using any other brushes, guys. Okay. With the same brushes, I'm still in the same brush. I'm just gonna see, if I'm using the brush like that, then what happens? It gives you that what do you say? Like how the leaves and trees comes in that forest, you can get that kind of a look. And that's all I'm trying to bring in here. We can put the branches here, don't worry. But when you use a very light movement in your brush, you can actually bring it well. And then slowly try to bring that shade down. Okay. Slowly, like no forceful tips here, no forceful way of putting your brushes. Very, very slowly, very slowly. If you can do that. See, with the same brush, the brush has got a little bit of paint. I'm just doing it with the same brush. I have not done anything else here, guys. We can put the branches, we can put everything. All I'm now trying to do is just make sure that the floor is nice and neat for me. And if the paint is drying up fast and you feel that it's still not dark, you can do one more layer of dark colors. Because the floor should be darker than the shades that you see up. And it will happen when the paint dries, you can really feel that. Okay, so that's what I've tried to bring in there. Are we all good till here? Are you able to follow up? And the color combination that I've gotten in here is the vermilion or the orange hue, burnt umber, yellow, and white. I've used only those colors there. I've not used any other colors yet. And white, you have to use it more because that's where that light shade, that brown and that, what do you say, the flow shade comes by. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to put a little bit more of the brown down. Okay. So that's there. Everybody good still here? I hope so. Okay. So as we go on, I'm just going to make sure that I have enough of my colors in my palette as well as in my brushes. Okay. Now the color gets a little more darker. The same, I've not changed any other colors here. The same colors. It's just getting a little bit more darker in the shades because you've given the first layer of lighter shade and then it goes into the darker shade. And I'm using the same brush because my brush, the bristles are really good and nice. So I'm just using that.
Hi, Nisha. What color is that?
This is the same, the vermilion, yellow, white, and the brown that you mix together.
Vermilion, yellow, brown. Okay.
Yeah, that's the same color. I've not yet changed the colors. I'm just making a darker shade, lighter shade with white and a little bit of here and there to give the shade difference here.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, and if you want, you can use your other the fan brush as well. I'll show you with how the fan brush comes by. With the fan brush, you can go, see, and it's the same brown. I have not yet changed the browns. We can draw the trees, branches, and everything, whatever we have to draw, we can draw it now. But I'm just going to give the, what do you say, the trees, the leaves and all. Just puts here and there, just to give that foresty look that's going to come in now. And you can use a fan brush. I'm trying to show you with different brushes here, so you get to see which brush goes well. Okay, so first layer of light colors have gone in, then it comes this middle layer of darker colors, then it goes in a little more darker color, and for a more darker color, I'm just going to make sure that I have a little bit more of You can use a burnt sienna. Now I'm introducing another color called as burnt sienna. Okay, with a tint of black. I'll show you that as well. I think I'm quite good with this colors that's coming. So this is still the other brown that I had before, like the one with vermilion, yellow, and white, because that actually is looking nice. So I'm just going to use this before I add up the brown and the black. Okay. And please, just very feather light touches here and there. You're not going to dab it so much or anything like that. Very, very light. Very light. Just make sure it's like, you know, how you will touch and do anything with glass stuff. So that's what you're trying to do here. Very light, very light. See, and I'm trying to give in the darker shade up so that the leaves are a little darker. That's it. Again, it's very light, as though like, you know, this is gonna break down. I'm just gonna give in a very light touches here, there. And it's again with the same colors. I've not used anything. Yellow, my vermilion, and the burnt umber. I've yet to introduce my black into it. And I'm using the same brush. I've not dipped into anything else. The paint that is residing in the brush is what I'm trying to bring it out. Okay. And the colors in my fan brush also, I can bring it. So if you're using a fan brush, you can still use that as well. Okay. So if you see, I'm only dabbing that brush stroke. I'm not trying to do anything else here. Because this is the sunlight rays painting. So I want to make sure that my rays are in between all those leaves and the colors are shown beautifully out. And it's only very feather light touches. We are not going to do anything more than that here now. And the paint that is there in my brush is that's the only thing that I'm using here. I've still not yet dipped or taken anything more. And I'm still having that yellow in between. I'm still having some darker colors, white coming in, the rays coming out. This you can also achieve by, if you have that painter's tape, you can actually put that also into, but I'm doing it directly and showing you how you could bring that rays. Okay, and with the same strokes itself, like I have not done anything yet, anything. I'm just trying to make sure that I give some darker shade in between. In between, I give some light shades. Okay, and it's like a tree leaves. So make sure you kind of bring that also into place. Like it's not, you're not trying to draw it or paint anything here, using your simple touches of coming down and up. And that's where you're bringing those trees in. Okay. And imagine that, you know, when you see the rays that's coming down, that's how it's going to come out. And then I'm going to use that little bit of paint here, there in my down portion. Also, just to bring that tree highlight, I'm going to get in the darker shades there. Okay. And again, I'm just using that dabbing technique. I'm not using anything else here. Okay. Still in that same sphere I'm here. And now it's the darker. First was a light one. Now it's the darker shade. Okay. I'm just put that aside. Okay. Now introduce a little bit of brown and with a little black. I'll show you what I'm trying to say here. So I have the palette here. Okay. So I have the This is called as a burnt sienna or just the plain brown. And I'm introducing a little bit of black towards that color to make it little darker. That's all. I'm not trying to do anything um, different. All I'm trying to do is just get inside with that little bit of darker hue. And if your black is too much, make sure you bring in that brown shade more higher. Okay, so I feel like I have the little bit of darker black shade that has come in. So I'm just going to make sure that I bring in with a little bit of browns there. And this is only for the top part of the painting. That's just to show the darker leaves there. And again, it's only the dabbing technique, nothing much I'm doing. And if it's too much of, as I said, if it's too much of black, make sure that brown comes in. So I'm gonna just wipe off my paint that is there, too much of black. And I'm gonna take a little bit of more browns because I don't want too much of black, but I want that black also. Can you see? I've just got a little bit darker and it's only on the top part and then in between. Still, it shows out that yellow in there. It shows the rays there. It shows all the colors that I want. It's not yet gone too bad. It's not yet gone too much of dark. Okay, just to bring that leafy shade texture there. Okay. And we have still not done anything else here. All we are trying to put some leaves down, leaves up, leaves here. That's it. Okay, that's all we are trying to do here. And as we bring in that texture and that look down, it will come out well. Okay, see? And now when you see, you can see that rays that's coming into that forest. And now we will slowly start introducing some branches. And with that same brown, that darker shade, I'm just bringing it down here to make few dark branches out. Again, it's all the dabbing technique. I'm not using anything to press myself hard here, okay? And down on my floor as well. When you do something on the top, it's always on the down as well because the floor is also filled with that same brown leaves. It's not too dark, but it's darker than the shade before. So you should have something similar to this. First is your light layer, then comes your medium layer, medium color, and then comes your darker color. So when you kind of do that, you're able to see a difference in your painting. You're not actually kind of bringing so much things that's happening there, and you don't know why all these, so many playful colors are coming in. Okay, just in the background, there are some leaves, there's some darkness, everything happens here. That's why I said, like, when you do it with that white shade, white in between, it brings you that beautiful rays there. Okay, make sure that if you're done, you are covering up with, you're washing your brush as well or putting it into the water and taking it off. Okay, now, so since you've made this, now let's try to make some trees. Now it's that same paint here. I'm just going to use a little bit of flat shader here. So I have all these paints in my palette here, right? I'm just going to use a little bit of water, and with this kind of a brown in between, if you see, that is the brown that I've taken in. I'm just going to use a little bit of water there so that my paint can move, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay. So if it is too light, I'm going to use my bigger brush for the bigger tree. Okay. Use a little bit of water because your paint might be very difficult to pull through when it is a little dried off or anything. So I'm just using a bit of water to pull my paint. Yes.
What colors did you use for the tree?
Oh, it's the same here. Whatever is there in the palette, I'm just using a little bit of water into it.
Okay, thank
Whatever
you.
browns that you have in your palette, you use the same brown. You're not going to do anything else at all. Okay, so that the paint can move. Okay, and it's not going to be too dark, but there is, you can see that branch kind of look that comes by, and that's all I'm trying to get in here. I'm not doing anything else here. If you see, all I did was that with that same brown, and you know, if you want to put in a different look into the trees, you can always go ahead and do it. But use a bit of water because the paint will be too dry to move around. And it's not too dark, it's very light. Okay, it's very light that you're gonna have the branches in and out. But it will be seen, that's the only thing that you're going to show, like a couple of branch trees here and there, the bark here, there, just to show that the forest is, you know, coming up in life. And I'm just using that same brown I told you. I've not yet changed. All I'm done was like put some water and then doing it. Okay. And don't worry, you can bring it into life by making your floor a little bit more darker. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that I get more of my browns, and then if you kind of use it like this, so you can use more of paints there, guys. That's that brown with black, and okay, just to darken the ground floor. It can look like a monochrome color because of the you know, the play of only one or darker shade of a colors that's happening here. That again, it's up to you how you want to give it, but I prefer this light and dark shades. And I'm showing you here because I'm not able to come towards the other side. So I've just lifted up the panel here. And use water if you have to bring the paint down. Like my paint are getting very dried faster. And I'm using again dark light shades for my tree. Because in the forest in the morning time when you're seeing the trees are not going to be too, you can't see everything very much happening, but there are things that's been shown and seen. Okay. So when you look from afar, now you can feel that there is something happening with that forest. Very lightly, like as though there is that trees, everything is in a very light shade, not too, but make sure that the branches all come down. like the tree trunks all come down. Okay. And it's very simple, guys. It's very simple to do this monochrome kind of a painting because it's actually with just play of light shades and dark shades. Now, can you see how the forest is bringing life there with just the browns and blacks wherever you've introduced them? I'm just trying to make that tree look more realistic there. And my paint is already dried up. So I'm using a little bit of water just to make sure that I get that. And it's very light, like you're not even forcing anything. It's so light that the branches or the trees, everything comes alive there. And here in between, we can draw that branch. So now when you see, you can actually feel the forest. And that's all you brought in this picture with a little bit of strokes up and down. So here is your tree, and make sure in the above also there is some branches that's marked in. It's not too dark, but it is, again, it's just shown here, there, and I'm doing it with the same brush here. I've not yet again changed anything, the same color of browns. Wherever you feel like you have to give it a stroke, you have to bring a branch in, do that so that you can make that forest look like a forest. So I'm just keeping my center as it is. I've not touched anything in my center. All I'm trying to do is just to bring the tree branches live. In between, I'm just giving a darker shade of the same browns. I didn't do anything else again here. Making sure my forest looks like a forest with the branches, with trees, with leaves. And all these paintings, like if you see my own background here, these are all the paintings that I did with you guys. It's all put to the background here. So you can use your own paintings into different ways of decorating your rooms, your house, like wherever you want to put it in. So if you put it a little more passion into what you want to do, you can do it well, guys. You really can do it well. Nobody is stopping you from anything there. Okay. Your trees can be in any ways, forms, and shades. No harm at all. I'm just, trying to give some dark shade here and there just to make sure that, I have lots of trees behind in the front. And it looks like as though that if you give that perspective of seeing from far afar, like how it comes by, and that's all I'm trying to get. And it's again with the same shades of browns, nothing else. It's not changed. In between, there's that. I'm just trying to give some branch look there. And I don't want to miss my yellows and white, which is already in the picture. That's very important. So and any ways, however you want to make your tree look beautiful, go ahead and do it. And if you feel that there is so much of dark colors, dark trees anywhere, make sure that you bring in some light trees there. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I bring in some lighter colors and shades. Okay, anything dark, if it's in the background, it's good. It's not too, it doesn't bring out so bad, but you know, and in the foreground, if you can make it a little more darker shade than what's there in the background, that should be good. Okay, so I think we are kind of good with here. I'm just going to introduce a little bit of browns and whites, a little bit of lighter color here. I'll show you what I'm trying to do here. I want you to take a little, if you all are good here, take a little bit of that shade what is there already in your palette. I'm just going to introduce a little white. I'll show you. So I'm trying to get the lighter shade here. If you see, I'm trying to get a very lighter shade of brown, very lighter shade. So I'm just gonna make sure that it is very light. And I'm gonna try to see if I can, it doesn't make much difference, but I'm just trying to see if I can put it on my floor so that the light rays is actually coming down on the floor here. It's very light. It's very light. And when you kind of do this, it's kind of, you know, it feels like it's coming from down up, like from up down. So it's like not too dark and not too pale in color. Again, I'm not sure how far the camera is picking it up, but you know, that's what I'm trying to get in there. And if it is too dark, just a light shades here and there will make it look, the floor looks a little better off. That's all. Okay. So now with that, if we can introduce a little bit of, I think I just want to get a little bit of white. Okay, I'm using another brush which is very, very dry. It's very, very dry. Okay, I'm just taking, I'll show you what I'm trying to do here so that I will put some white here. Where is my white? Okay, I think that should be good. Okay, make sure your paints are always covered up very well. So I have some white here, right? Make sure you use your dry brush that you have, dab it on that, and then slowly you're trying to get that rays. Very light, very light. Okay, it's not too dark. It's where from the light is actually kind of coming in from up, right? So I'm just trying to bring that light shade into that trees there. That's all. If you see, all I'm trying to do is just to get that very bit of that light in there. And for this part, you can actually do it like this. Okay, so just in the center, just to get that beautiful sun's glow. Just in the center. I'm not doing anything else, just in the center. So that it's coming just in the center, that beautiful rays. Can you see? And then slowly bring it down. So it's just coming into the trees down. Okay, and please make sure that you're doing it on both the sides, not just once, not on one side. Okay, and that is just with that white. I didn't do anything else. Now, can you see the difference, like how the sun's rays is just coming beautifully down? If you don't have white, and don't mix up any other colors, it's just the white. It's just the white. No other colors yet in play. It is just the white. And it is just coming in between. It's as though like the rays are, it's It's just seeping in there. And I'm using only white. See? In places where, you can see that light is going to come in more, you can keep it like that. And all I did was just to make sure that I had enough of white. The stroke is either up or down, but it makes sure it is coming from that center and it takes it. So, and it's coming down. It's coming like you can just pull the paint down so that it just falls on that trees from down. And the paint would be dry in the down if you have used only very less. Okay, and if you find that there is more of white anywhere, just keep pulling it out, it will come as rays. Okay, just keep pulling it out, pulling it out. How is it so far? And when that is getting done, when you have that whites all coming beautifully, and if you feel that you need to touch up your paint with a little bit of dark colors or anything like that, and then you know what, when you're doing down as well, you should put a little bit of rays that's coming down. I'll show you what I'm trying to say that. Okay, that means the floor is actually kind of, you can feel that sun's rays is just falling down. Not too much, just a little bit here and there. That's fine. And then making sure this ray is also, the center is beautifully coming out. And that's how you bring in your sun's rays inside. And it makes a difference for you when you see, like, when you see the whole picture painting now, there's a lot of difference between what we started and how we are finishing it. And when you want to make a little colors, different colors to be a little more bold in color, bold enough. So after your white is done, like everywhere, wherever you have to give your white, if I look into my painting, I'm quite happy with my browns, with my colors there. I'm just going to make sure that I take a little bit of darker color if I have to, but otherwise also I'm kind of fine with it. Just in betweens, just to make sure that it's there. Okay, otherwise, I think my shade of colors have come out well. And my tree also looks good. And I'm just going to make sure that not too much of the white is shown, but the white is there. Okay, so the painting is done from my part. I don't want to do anything more because when I see this painting, it looks like as though the whole sun's rays and everything is just coming into the forest, and it looks nice for me. As I said, you can also do it. It's very simple. With the simple stroke, with just few colors, you can make beautiful, natural looking nature surroundings here, and that's what I've done. Nothing more I've done here, guys. So, for me, it's good. It's fine. If you want to do something more, make sure that you can do it a little bit darker shades here, but don't tend to do anything in the center when you want to show that sun's rays. Make sure that particular space is always kept free. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of stop the recording and take all your questions in. So let me just stop it. We will see next week again with the same painting, but just be online. I'm just going to stop the recording here.